Hi, everybody. Eamon here from the Patmon podcast. Welcome to today's episode. We do have Kiara, and she is from LeadCoverage. So, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. Awesome. Excited to be here.
Great, great. I was checking out your website before we jumped on. There's so many interesting things, especially around intent data and all of that good stuff. So, for those that maybe are not familiar and our listeners on the podcast, share a little bit about what it is you do and how you help your clients.
Yeah. So we are a demand gen shop. So we do all things analyst relations, which for us is Gartner, Forrester, Morningstar, etc. Public relations. So this is for us because our niche is very specific, trade publications and top tier press. We then take that sort of market specific information and content, run it through a HubSpot demand gen engine, landing pages, emails, workflows, etc. And then we have a team that will make the first dial. So if someone gets a prospect gets from the top of the funnel to the bottom, we will make the first dial and set that meeting for our clients. And we do it very, very specifically for a relatively small niche, which is supply chain. But the supply chain market as a whole is $2 trillion. So feels small, actually big. We say it's a $2 trillion market run by 2,500 people, right? It's all like the same people that we know. But it's really fun. We have a blast. We are the experts in this in our very specific niche.
Very good, very good. I didn't realize it was that big. So yeah, that's definitely a learning find for me. And what do you find is the main problem that you help solve for your clients? I mean, what's the big one?
Yeah. So for supply chain management companies today, the last 2 years have been boom town. So your toilet paper was late, my clients made money, right? Your shipment was late, my clients made money. So everybody made a lot of money the last 2 years, but it was all operations, right? So people spent a lot of time being able to meet the demands of shippers like your Target, Walmart, et cetera, and the suppliers, so Kellogg, right, big CPG companies. Everyone was shipping more in the last couple of years. And so our clients made a ton of money, but it was all operations. And now, because the market has shifted, freight rates are down, people are shipping less, buying less. Now it's time to turn on the sales engine. And what some of our clients or some of the folks in the supply chain space didn't do is invest in sales and marketing alignment, sales and marketing tools, MarTech stacks, et cetera, in the last 2 years. So we spend a lot of time sort of going back from 0 to 1 on spinning up HubSpot, making sure things are up and running correctly. How do we put the appropriate records into HubSpot to be able to market to, which we can for sure have a long conversation about how we find those humans. And then making sure there's a real process to follow up on those records. So we spend a lot of time on that with our clients. That's the biggest gap we see.
Okay, and like when you're getting new clients, obviously you mentioned shipping and everything over the last 2 or 3 years are crazy times.
Yeah.
So what do you find like what's working best for you for acquiring new clients and how important does your website play in that role?
For us to acquire new clients.
Yes.
So our website plays almost no role. We're a hyper niche, like we talked about in supply chain, which, given your audience, I highly recommend. It has insulated us from many, many market pressures. We don't have a lot of, we have some tech clients, but we don't have a big contingency of tech clients that, I have friends who have their tech clients all pulled budget because of what's happening in the marketplace today. So we were sort of insulated from what's happening in the larger marketplace because we're such a niche in what we do. We also can charge a lot more. So because we are hyper specific, someone who comes to I don't know, $500 million freight broker and says, "Hey, we want to do your marketing," they don't know anything about freight brokerage. We walk in and I'm like, "Oh, I took a freight broker public when I was 25 and we've been doing this for 15 years and we know what we're doing." We sort of get that business and then we can charge a premium. But I think your real question was, how do we find clients? And the answer to that is I post very regularly to LinkedIn. We are regular LinkedIn posters. That's one of the very few processes that is buttoned up inside our company for marketing. We don't spend a ton of money on it, but we are very specific on what we share. which is our philosophy and the things that we're seeing in our space and supply chain. So we spend a lot of time on that. We go to every supply chain trade show. And my partner, Will Haraway, is sort of the guy to get you into the supply chain press. And so we oftentimes get referrals just because we've done really good work for one client. We're working with their partner, and the partner's like, wow, your PR team is amazing. Can we work with them too? So a lot of it's referrals, and we have a very strong pipeline right now. So I'm super happy. Closing deals is kind of crazy these days because we're trying to grow as fast as we can, and we are. But I would say that LinkedIn is probably the best use of our marketing dollars, posting twice a week, if not more.
No, it's, you mentioned and touched on a couple of really key points there. One is, LinkedIn is leveraging that can be amazing, and posting, and if you have happy clients, and being, niching down, always niching down and becoming, the rather than just being everything to everybody, you're nothing to anybody. So it's that's definitely a key learning. And with this as well, how do you feel, moving forward, let's say as a leader, kind of switching gears a little bit, or as a leader in marketing and what you're doing, and what keeps you busy on a day-to-day basis besides
Yeah,
LinkedIn?
well, yeah, for me, actually, I don't actually touch LinkedIn, which is really funny. We've got a really strong process to make sure that I don't have to, I'm not the barrier, right? What do I spend my day on? That's such a good question. I close deals for us. And we're a small company, right? There's 30 of us. So we're still in the sort of founder-led sales um piece of our growth story. Although I love it. Like there's nothing I'd rather do than close deals. So I think sometimes I choose my calendar to be what I want it to be, right? Um, Will and I still do a lot of strategy work, so we're still on calls with clients, making sure that they get that they get our perspective on what's happening in the marketplace. One of the great things about being in a niche
Mhm.
is our clients know that we have the pulse of sort of the larger market. So they will say to us, "Hey, what are you hearing? What are you hearing in the marketplace? What are you hearing from the VCs you're talking to? What are you hearing from the PEs?" And everyone, there's only so many folks at the top of this supply chain marketplace, but we're relatively well connected. And so they see us as this center of excellence, or this thought leader really on what are other folks doing. And then we make it a practice to, if this is working for this client over here who does, let's say, warehousing, we're going to use that same methodology for this client over here who does over the road shipping. Super different markets, totally non-competitive, or a technology company that's selling fleet management software, right? These are non-competitive, but they're all sort of going after the same type of customer, always very specifically B2B. And we're using the same strategies that work for customer one for customer 27, right? So they come to us with this expectation that we're going to use our expertise to make their demand gen engine really powerful, and we do. So a great example of that is the way that we take our clients to market. I'm going to preface this with, I know all the fancy jargon, GTM, ABM, RevOps, like I know it all, but we don't use it intentionally, because if I tell a freight broker I'm going to do his RevOps, he thinks I'm going to pay his invoices for him. So we use very simple language to explain what we do. It is share good news, right? Track the interest of that good news and follow up. So share good news is anything that touches the funnel that is content related, but we don't do your basic like blog posts, right? Frankly, because no one's coming to your website to look at them unless you can drive them there somehow. So this is PR, sort of market specific. The real magic happens in HubSpot. So this is track the interest of those humans. And we ask one question of all of our clients that usually is like sort of a turning point in our sales process, which is, do you own the email address of every human who could buy from you?
Okay.
Right? And the answer is usually, probably not. And then my question is, why not? They all exist. You can get their email addresses, you can find them, right? There are ways to go about doing this. And if you don't have them inside your CRM, you can't track them. right? You don't know that they came to your website. There's no way to understand the activity that they're doing, right? You can put PathMonk on the front of it, but if you can't see the humans, if you don't know the humans that you're trying to target, if they're not in your system, then finding them is really hard to do. So we do a lot of that. And then lastly is following up. So Inside Sales and Harvard did a study in 2017, which is kind of getting dated, but I still like it, that if you can talk to a human within 5 minutes of them showing you a buying signal, you have a 900% better chance to close that deal. So making sure that you are talking to folks within a few minutes or a few hours of them showing you a buying signal is super, super important.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know about that study, but 900%. So
900%. Yes.
yeah. Well, I'm not going to argue with Harvard. So that sounds pretty good. And just like as we're coming close to the end of our interview, so one thing I'd like to do is maybe switch gears a little bit and have some rapid fire questions. Only very short answers are needed. Are you ready?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. What was the last book you read?
Oh man, I'm in the middle of multipliers, but before that was yeah, let's just say multipliers because I'm almost done with it.
Okay, no problem, no problem. And also, imagine you're starting all over again at LeadCoverage, and it's your first day. What advice would you give yourself, or what would you do differently?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would buy someone else's 0 to 1.
You do one?
Instead of starting it from scratch,
Yeah.
I would buy someone else's business that was already started.
Oh,
This is the thing I've learned in the last few years as an entrepreneur is 0 to 1 is the hardest thing there is. 0 to 1. So going from
okay, I got
nothing
you,
to
I got you.
something, creating something from scratch, being a job creator
Mhm.
from zero is the hardest thing to do. Buying someone else's 0 to 1 and then scaling it sounds really fun to me.
Yeah. No, I got you. No, that makes so much sense. And like, well, look, I'd like to give you the last word, of the podcast because we're coming to the end. I mean, if someone, let's say, for some reason they forgot everything that we just shared and they forgot everything about LeadCoverage, what's the one thing that you'd like them to leave this podcast knowing about, LeadCoverage?
Yeah. So it's not necessarily knowing about us. It is how to track KPIs against the marketing work that you're doing and that matter to executives. We measure 3 things: volume, velocity, and value. That's all the executives care about: how much, how many, and how fast. So show me the leads. I don't care where they are in the pipeline. I don't care where they sit in HubSpot. Like we like to think of it as 3 funnels. Who cares, right? The real question is, how many do you have for me? What is the value, both individually and overall, and how fast are they getting through my pipeline? Most important KPIs.
Fantastic. Well, that makes so much sense. Thank you so much, Gara, for being on our call. I'm sure everybody's going to get so much value out of this. And that's it for today. So I look forward to seeing everybody on the next episode of PathMonk Presents. All the best and bye-bye.